Hello, Russell Broadbent here, member for Monash. My electorate covers the areas from Longwarry to Latrobe Valley, from Mount Baw Baw to Wilson's Promontory and Phillip Island. Today I want to talk about trust. And once again, I'm talking about the proposed misinformation and disinformation bill. Make no mistake, this bill is the greatest government-sponsored attack on freedom in this country, our country, has ever seen. This legislation gives bureaucrats the power to decide what is truth and what is not. Trust. We've been trained to trust people like doctors, politicians, and the people that bring us the news. The ABC positioned themselves as the knower of all things through their ongoing propaganda series, speaking to a narrative that's in lockstep with the government. A government that wanted them to, whatever the government wanted them to say. They have lost trust with the swathe of people across the nation. For those who speak out against the narrative, this comes at great cost. When Australian journalist Adam Creighton dared to comment on the impacts of lockdown 3 years ago, this is what he said. The column he wrote triggered a torrent of hate mail that lasted well over a year, and Adam began to receive persistent and violent threats. He was forced to change his name on social media accounts, and his parents seriously worried about his safety. Some of the attacks were so awful, he considered taking legal action. These are the words of Adam, who wrote 3 years ago, "These words have been vindicated." The issue is already on our doorstep. Recent Freedom of Information documents requested by Senator Antic revealed the Australian government partnered with social media platforms to censor Australians for misinformation and disinformation during the pandemic. The government's overreach with this bill is chilling. We've seen how this plays out in other countries, including our neighbours, when New Zealand's former Prime Minister said, "We will continue to be your single source of truth. Unless you hear it from us, it's not the truth." On Tuesday, Penny Wong said that freedom of expression and assembly are essential to our democracy, and we support those in Australia who exercise those rights. She was referring to democracy sympathisers in Hong Kong. Governments are such hypocrites. Whilst they quite rightly stand for the freedoms of other nations, our own freedoms are at huge risk by their hand. We are at a turning point where this bill will bring to horrifying reality the fiction outlined in George Orwell's book 1984. It should alarm every Australian that government and its approved agencies, educational institutions and professional news outlets will be exempt from this new law. So they get to decide the truth and shut down anyone else who might question. You have to ask, what is the Labor government afraid of? Its own people? As John F. Kennedy said, a nation that is afraid to let its people judge the truth and falsehood in an open market is a nation that is afraid of its people. I don't recognise our country anymore. This isn't the Australia I know. What is happening in this country? Does this stack up? It just doesn't make sense. And that's justice as I see it.
Authorised by Russell Broadbent, Liberal Party, Warragul.